Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Bloomberg Surveillance Podcast. I'm Tom Keene, along with Paul Sweeney. Join us each day for insight from the best in economics, finance, investment, and international relations. You can also watch the show live on YouTube. Visit the Bloomberg Podcast channel on YouTube to see the show weekday mornings from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern from our global headquarters in New York City. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen, and always on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Terminal, and the Bloomberg Business app. From Massachusetts, the Charles River, Katy Kaminski joins, Chief Research Strategist, AlphaSimplex. Katy, have we reaffirmed a bull market? You and I are trend-based. I'm looking at all sorts of percolations, parabolic SAR, climate exponential moving averages, and the vectors pointing up. Do you agree?
I agree on equities, but I'm still really nervous on the other asset classes. So that I'd say yes and no.
What's that? That's not a radio answer.
That's
economics.
economics.
That's a TV.
Yeah.
You say yes and no on TV. On radio, I need a damn
yes,
answer.
I agree for equities. Yes. I mean, I think there's still a moderate and sort of, given what happened last month, signals abated, volatility came in and dissipated some of the strength that we saw earlier this year. And we're going to continue to see we've seen some recovery. So we're somewhat moderately long views in equities. But when you look at the other asset classes, that's what's been making me nervous, because you've seen strong fixed income long signals. You've seen short commodity views. You're seeing long gold and short. The dollar's been under pressure too. So that's a little defensive still.
You mentioned the dollar, Katy. I mean, again, we've seen weakness here in the dollar here. I mean, I always ask my FX folks here, is there ever a bear case for the U.S. dollar? Is this a bear market for the U.S. dollar, or is this just some short-term trading pressure?
So I think there's definitely a case right now with monetary policy going in with cuts. That's naturally going to put pressure on the dollar, and that's been the key theme for the last 2 or 3 months. And we've seen, I'll just be honest with you, currencies has been the toughest asset class this year to trend, because the signals have been much more volatile. And so you've seen a lot of back and forth, which is not, has not been an easy trend to trade. So the signal to noise ratio has been low. But more recently, especially the last 2 months, definitely with the theme of, U.S. cutting rates, that has put pressure on the dollar.
Katy, from a CTA standpoint, people that follow trends, is it a good time? Are trends efficacious now, or is it what the pros say, folks, it's so stochastic that you just can't get conviction?
I actually think it's a good time, because what happens with trend is as we go through a period of inflection, so when signals reduce and then pivot, and you see positioning move from one theme to another, that's when you have this opportunity to break out. And so what we've been watching is some of the key things that have been building in our signals, and that's been a focus on potential for a harder landing, potential for economic weakness, and that is seen outside of the equity markets. And I think for me, when you look at past reversal periods, those other asset classes is where you have something to, to hedge opportunities if we should find some difficulties this fall.
Do you have a belief on gold? I've never asked you this. Does Katy Kaminski look at gold? I mean, what was it, Paul? Record high yesterday? Where are we? Yeah. 25. We're almost at 2,600 on gold. Catherine Kaminski on gold.
So gold is, it's amazing. I think the recent rally may be attributed to the dollar being weaker and real rates going down. But, really, if you look at that trend, it's just, we should just be buying gold this year. It's been very strong, and it's been very resilient throughout the entire year. So, it's the one that kind of sticks out versus other commodities that are more demand focused, like energies and metals.
Well, I don't know much about commodities. I'm pretty proud of that, by the way. But the function I do know is BCOM, BCO, on the Bloomberg Commodities Index. And boy, that's down 10% just over the summer, I guess. I mean, what's that telling you, Katy?
So that's part of what this defensive narrative that I've been concerned about. It feels a little bit like the trends right now are hedged. So there's still long equity views in trends, but that's coupled with short positioning in commodities. What I'm worried about is what happens after cuts next week. Once we start having cuts, does the market pivot again, or do we continue?
Right. Katie, this has been wonderful. Our theme today, Catherine, is Notre Dame they lost, and in my agreement with Bloomberg, I have to talk up Purdue football. So today we're looking at pro football, like what they play out in South Bend and West Lafayette. I noticed, Katy Kaminski, that the Fighting MIT crew, they beat Bridgewater State in football. And I was looking at Carson Phelps of Wichita, Kansas. I mean, this kid, Katie, he's a math major. He's like MIT. He's like real MIT, like Katie. This kid never knew a B in his life. Katie, is there a fight song at MIT? Is there a fight song?
There actually is, and it's basically a math fight song, and it has like e to the x pi. I wish I rememred it, but
it's got
the MIT
math team, go go go.
Katie,
it's a lot of calculus.
Does it have Euler's function in it with a -1 stuck on the right side?
I think it does. Actually, it does have e to the x, y, cosine, sine, something like that. But look it up. It's really it's a great math chant.
Bronze. Katy Kaminski, thank you so much. From the shores of the Charles River, e to the pi I, or whatever it is. We had all sorts of different views, starting with Michael Purvis's lift to 5,800 on SPX this morning. But with the quant, the mathematics, the epsilon, the Greek letters of Katy Kaminski. Let's get real. This weekend, over a beverage of your choice, maybe you're at the beach, maybe you're at a kitchen table trying to figure out what to do about the rent increase. You want to listen to Emily Roland, co-chief investment strategist for a small shop up in Boston. They have old John Hancock and new John Hancock.
I like the old John Hancock Tower.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of in all that. Emily joins us this morning. Emily, you have nailed buy quality, buy America, try to push aside all the noise. We've re-noised after the first week of August. How do you reset for 2025?
We continue, Tom, to have our eye on the ball here. We are continuing to emphasize high quality stocks. We think we're in this late cycle environment where the lagged impact of Fed tightening hasn't tipped us into recession. We continue to spend like crazy in the United States. Not a political statement, by the way, it's just happening. And that's extending the cycle. We want to be careful of reaching too far for risk. We want to start even legging into some more defensive parts of the market. And we continue to want to embrace the income that's available now in high quality bonds.
For you guys at State Street, what is quality, legging into the quality part of the market? What does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, so it's companies with great balance sheets. They have a ton of cash, great return on equity. Think about a company with a limited need to tap the capital markets in order to grow. And with the cost of capital still elevated, companies are now contending with margin pressure. Revenue growth was awesome during the height of the pandemic as companies could pass those higher prices along. Now record revenue growth is slowing, margins are compressing, and the companies that are going to do the best are the ones that can defend those margins. And we're finding a lot of that in the quality factor and most notably in technology.
Emily, it's away from your remit, but let's keep the theme going. I need a hat trick right now. And that is, we had two opinions earlier this week, separate and discrete, reaffirming double-digit earnings growth. I assume you're there, but can you state to us that you see persistency of quality margins that lead to double-digit earning growth?
Yeah, I think it's you can find it, but it's going to be concentrated in those companies. Luckily, the quality factor has concentration in mega cap tech. And of course, those names are dominating the market. If you look at earnings growth just this quarter, half of it was driven by the communication services and technology sector. Revenue growth is coming from those areas of the market. So as long as you can see that holding up, I think you can get there. Now, Tom, the great news is The bar for Q3 is really low. Analysts are penciling in 3.8% year-over-year earnings growth. So I think we should just enjoy it while we can. Like you guys are enjoying the Yankees right now beating the Red Sox. Like, enjoy it while you can.
Emily, you're killing me. Stop it.
You know, we might get better.
I mean, you could see from the new John Hancock, if you go up higher, you could see the lack of offense up at Fenway. It's like a cloud over Fenway Park. Paul, Nvidia. Paul, you were on this.
Yeah, so
from the peak down 21%.
I know, and Tom raised a great question, Emily. If you think about Nvidia, think about AI. That's been such a driver of the stock market performance for the last almost 2 years here. If the AI trade is kind of played out, does that bring some risk into the marketplace that we need to account for?
Yeah, it does because of that concentration. And look, we're bumping up on 30 times forward earnings for the U.S. technology sector. That's about as high as we've gotten over the course of this cycle. Now, of course, it's not the 50 times forward earnings we saw in the late 1990s, but certainly there's been a lot of multiple expansion there. The good news is if you do the math, you guys seem to be doing a lot of math this morning.
Yeah, it's,
so let me just get in on the party.
2 + 2.
If you look at the PE ratio, we would focus on the denominator. Look at the earnings, and you can blame a lot of things for any reset in the technology sector, but it's multiple compression. It is not earnings. The earnings are there. The fundamental case for AI is there. It's just the love affair with it is probably a bit extended.
Paul, Nvidia, 56 times PE, forward PE only to January of next year is a 42.
Yeah, and it gets to a 30 handle on the following year. So this is a company that's earning its way into its multiple. That's what the bulls will tell you here.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So, I mean, this Federal Reserve, Emily, it seems like it's ready to begin a cutting cycle. How does that kind of impact how you guys are thinking about stocks, bonds, commodities, all that kind of stuff?
Well, Paul, it comes down to what's already priced in to the bond market. The bond market is putting pressure on the Fed right now because we've got 5 rate cuts priced in for this year. So if you start to hear the Fed coming out on next Wednesday as even a little bit more hawkish than what's already priced in the market, I think you might see a repricing there. You'd see bond yields backing up. That would likely cause the dollar to appreciate. It would put some pressure on equity markets very likely here. So we've got to hear a more dovish Fed just to fit in with what the market is already pricing in.
Right. What are you doing with cash? I got 30 seconds. Cash, 5%. It's going to be 4.99%. What happens, Emily Roland?
Yeah, cash is subject to massive reinvestment risk here. We would go out into the belly of the curve, lock in higher rates there. The ag is yielding above 4%. Still get it while you can. Income, get paid to wait.
Emily Roland, thank you for the brief. Really love it. That's what we love to do in surveillance, folks. Have someone like Katy Kaminski and is doing total Greek letter math nerd fest. And they go to Emily Roland, who's talking really basic block and tackle belief with a 3-year holding pattern, 5-year holding pattern. Okay, the way it works at Bloomberg, folks, is Mandeep Singh and Anurag Rana can't be in the same building at the same time. So Mandeep Singh's working from home, legit, because Anurag Rana darkened the door of our world headquarters here in New York, usually based out of Chicago. To say senior tech analyst barely describes it. Oracle. I'm looking at the phone service now. Good things come to those who wait. Demand is high right now. Please hang tight in this waiting room. When it's your turn to shop, we'll redirect you automatically. Does everybody need a new iPhone this morning?
It happens a lot the first day when it goes to up sale. I've been waiting for the last few hours for them to open orders, which started at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And I honestly, in the 15 minutes I was able to get through, I'll pick it up next Friday. I'm very happy about it.
How much memory should we get in our phone? I mean, you're a pro. You're downloading secret files and all that. How much in our iPhone 16?
I go with the basic because I have the premium iCloud plan, so it doesn't matter to me.
So what am I getting again?
The 16 Pro.
Okay, thank you. So Anurag, he's got a day job being like the tech guru for Bloomberg Intelligence, but his side job is my personal iPhone shopper. I just give my credit card and he goes and
So
gets
you
it.
have the iCloud, so you don't have to spend up for all that RAM.
Yeah.
Like if I want to get the complete season of Slow Horses on there, all 4 seasons, I'm not going to use up all the RAM on the phone.
No, I have never, in the last 15 years, I've never seen any storage issues. You go with the basic model, it's not a problem, but you want to get the iCloud premium plan so that you're not looking at things.
Lisa, do you have the iCloud
Would you like to
premium
weigh
plan?
in?
No, but here's the thing. I'm paying these extra $1.99 a month, $2.99 a month for all this extra storage. Did I do it the wrong way? Was I supposed to go your way? Am I wrong?
See? No, he's my personal iPhone
I
shopper.
need
Yeah,
to.
When you really buy a Rolls Royce, you don't worry about the price of oil and these things. So I really don't you need to get the premium plans for these things to just work seamlessly. You don't want any headache. You don't want any time anything not syncing properly.
So sum up this intelligent conversation. This is the most important conversation we've had today.
Yeah.
With the phrase AI. Where does this madness fit in to your day job, the future of this AI world?
So one of the things that we have said that when you look at Apple, it has probably the most valuable distribution arm of any kind of device at this point, because it's usually very rich people who would own this particular product. Over the next 2 years, we will see a lot of AI applications come in, and you would need a phone like an iPhone 16 for those to run. You may not want to upgrade this year, maybe you will upgrade it next year, but within the next 2 years, we will see a lot of phones being refreshed. We think it's a little more biased towards next year because the phone model is going to be a lot different than this one, which is very much like the last year's model. But the next 2 years are really good for this entire iPhone family.
So talk to us about what's going on. If I want to get exposure to AI, I mean, Tom's owned Nvidia since day one, so he's fine. But for the rest of us, we want to get exposure to AI in the software space. Because I like the software space. I like the recurring revenue that you've always taught us about. Where do I go in software for AI exposure?
We think it is still the biggest cloud players because you are not going to see companies do a lot of this in-house. They will be using either Microsoft OpenAI relationship, Amazon Anthropic relationship. Oracle's also benefiting because it's getting the bypass of all of these companies. Google has Google and Gemini. So there is all of these big companies. And I mean, as much as you dislike, but these big companies are only going to get bigger over the next 5 years, much bigger.
How about this? I guess one of the issues with AI just come into the marketplace maybe over the last 3 to 6 months is, okay, we've got through the euphoria of people spending money on AI and getting exposure to AI, and that drove Nvidia and drove a lot of other companies. Now the discussion has become, wait, what's my return on this investment again? What's that discussion go like?
So when you look at somebody like an Nvidia, they are all these cloud players are buying chips from them. Something over 40% of the chips are bought by the cloud providers. The cloud providers are then going to companies, they're going to healthcare companies, banks, and saying, we'll help you develop an AI chatbot, an AI application that would help you drive productivity.
Barclays, with a brilliant report, just like the serious work you're doing at Bloomberg Intelligence, on the electrical usage, the electricity utility build out. To make a long story short, folks, in 3 cups of coffee, it's going to be at least 9% of the nation's electricity. A sentence from Barclays. Northern Virginia, good morning, 99.1 FM, which currently accounts for over 20% of U.S. data center capacity. Can we build out the electrical need responsibly and appropriately without Lisa Mateo's utility bill going to the moon?
I think that is going to be the single most important thing, the capacity to run a lot of these AI applications. My colleague Omid just did a very brilliant podcast on tech disruptors for Schneider Electric CEO. Highly recommend people listening to it. It was phenomenal in the way the world's energy needs or electric needs, electrification is improving, and how much they are doing to solve a lot of this problem.
Brownouts in Texas. Well, Texas has got their wacko utility structure. I mean, when John Tucker logs on in the Lincoln Tunnel, Staten Island dims. Are we ready for this, Anurag?
I think money will need to be spent at a federal level to help this cause because transmission lines are not there. The electricity generation needs to be there. Nobody wants to build nuclear plants.
Senator Warren of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and a few other Republicans are going to say, you guys are making all the money, you build the capacity. Why shouldn't Microsoft and their brethren build out the electrical capacity?
Bill Gates very big on nuclear plants. If they allow him, I am sure he won't have a problem building one. But the country is not ready to build nuclear plants anywhere.
And you mentioned this, Tom. It's a great topic here about a derivative topic about AI and the energy demand. Bloomberg Intelligence has a 40-page deep dive AI-driven energy demand outlook. Solar, gas, and batteries race to power AI revolution.
What's the sum of that, Anurag?
Wow.
It's at the end of the day, that remains one of the biggest bottlenecks for us, both the GPU shortage as well as electricity and power. And I think I'll tell you one thing. I go back 2008-9, everybody's talking about how the world is going to run out of oil and everything. In the next 2 years, the US capitalists figured out how to do fracking. I'm very confident we will figure something out in the next 3 to 5 years that's going to help us with this shortage in electricity.
Okay, can you call John Legier up and figure out what to do here? I got to order, Vet Bill had a tantrum last night. Almost bit kennel fee.
I know.
Vet Bill needs the new 16 Pro Max,
Well, you're getting yours and a watch next week, right?
Yeah.
So you're a total all-in.
Which watch you get?
The Pro with the what is the Ultra 2, the black with the titanium.
Does
The
it
black
tell time,
shiny
though?
one.
Does it even tell time?
I actually have never used one of those watches, but this is the first time I'm going to experiment with the bigger one.
Jesus, I don't know.
Okay. What's your? I mean,
I
you
like
don't
my
do
Omega
single
watch.
best.
I'm fine. I don't need to.
How do you respond, Anurag Rana, to the gloom, the breath of gloom right now on AI? It's healthy, right?
It is always healthy. We went through the same thing in the internet bubble when we had the 2000 crash, and after that 3 years nothing happened. But internet is still so much bigger. So we're going to go through massive amounts of ups and downs in the stocks moving up and down. But I think the build out is real.
The market lifted when Anurag talked. It's great how he does it.
It's
Anurag Rana with us with Bloomberg Intelligence. For those in the terminal, go to Bloomberg Intelligence. Good morning, everyone. The Daily Look at the front page. It's a Lisa Mateo hour. Lisa, what do you have?
All right, so we report on business here, but we also report on politics. We talk about politics here. There's a new poll out from the Associated Press that says, well, Americans, they're getting some political fatigue. So some of them want to tune off a little bit. So they're saying about half Americans say they do follow political news extremely, very closely. But 6 in 10 said they have to limit it, how much information they consume because they feel a bit overloaded. There's a lot of information, right? You get it on your phone. You can see it on social media. People are saying they're having a hard time figuring out what's true, what's not true.
On the debate, they had like
See?
60-some million.
Yep.
People tuned in, more than Biden, Trump.
I kind of like this short little season that
Campaign.
we're having now for
Love
the
it.
election.
It's
It's
British.
kind of like a snap
Yeah,
election.
it's British.
Yeah, exactly. We should do this.
I like this.
It's working out for me.
But it's a breakdown. Like women more likely to feel that they need to limit it more than men. So that's the difference there. But yeah, a little bit of political fatigue. They're allowed, yes.
We're not in a swing state,
yeah,
so I
luckily
don't,
we're not in a
don't
swing
see
state
it.
because every single ad on it's just all
it's
day
everywhere.
is
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Next.
Prep schools. I know you love education. So prep schools, not just for the elite. The Wall Street Journal is saying that more are offering free rides for the middle class. So the latest example, Deerfield Academy. It's a Massachusetts
Excellent
boarding school.
Excellent.
Yep. It's going to start giving a free ride to any admitted student whose family earns less than $150,000 a year. The school costs $75,000 a year. 48 students paying nothing to attend so far. Wall Street Journal says recruiting diverse students, it really helps get them access to academic, athletic programs to help them get to those elite colleges. And it also helps the wealthier students get exposure to people of different backgrounds as well. But there's other schools that have been doing it for years. You have in New Hampshire, Phillips Academy in New Hampshire, and also Groton School in Massachusetts. That has a cap of about $80,000. So more elite schools are starting to do this.
These are the elite schools, and the question is down the food chain. Do they have a luxury to do that? And they maybe don't have the endowments of Groton.
Yeah, exactly right,
or
Tom. You
Phillips
nailed it. It's all about the
or
endowment.
Lawrenceville.
No, Lawrenceville, we have a $700 million endowment at Lawrenceville, so they're able to be very helpful to a lot of families. So
we'll have to see.
It's a challenge.
Okay, next, what do you got?
Continuing with education. Okay, so we heard about the Wall Street Journal's top colleges list, right?
It's about Afterthoughts grades?
We heard, no. Afterthought might like this list. I'm not sure, but this is the school about the best party colleges.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Are you taking notes in the
listen
car?
up after this.
Where's Rutgers? Where's Rutgers?
Rutgers is not on the list, unfortunately. Who do you think is number one? Okay, most of them in the South and the Midwest. They hold those top 14
Okay, I got
spots.
it in my head.
got
Come
one.
on, come on.
French Hill. Good morning, French Hill.
I was thinking Florida. Oh,
Tulane, what a
New
shock.
Orleans.
New
Good
Orleans.
morning, Ian Bremer. Good morning from Party School, New Orleans.
Number one party school, according to the Wall Street Journal. Number two, University of Dayton. They're actually one of two schools
Dayton
in Ohio
Flyers, really?
that made the top 10.
Denison, the other?
Another private school. When you get to public schools, number three, Florida State University.
Yeah, now we're talking.
It's on my
Just
daughter's
shocked.
list. I don't know about that now. I'm crossing it off.
Right.
Crossing it up. But they did. They surveyed a lot of kids. They asked them about student life, career prep, classrooms, dining halls, but they also asked them about the party scene. So if you want to know about Tulane, here it is. 2 out of every 3 students said that they can find a party on campus 5 or more
Nice.
nights
That's
of the
what we're
week
talking about.
if they looked. 40% said that it was true 7 nights a week.
Wow.
So
You know what
they're
school is
going
also
strong.
on the list and is perennially on the list from Mr. Tom Keene? University of Colorado at Boulder.
No.
Yes.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
My son's alma mater as well, Boulder,
There's
Colorado.
a brass plaque at the sink, and we'll leave it there. Do you have one more for us?
I do. This is a record, okay? An American woman has cycled around the
I've
world.
had enough of these people.
Okay.
And you're one of them.
You
Lisa.
do need planes, though, because, you take your
Yeah,
bike, you need
yep.
the planes. Okay, let's be open about that. 18,000 miles around the world. She's 38 years old, Lael Wilcox, 108 days. That's what it took her to do it. But Guinness laid out these rules. So basically, she hopped on her bike in Chicago in May. She rode east to New York, flew to Portugal, crossed over to Europe, then traveled to Australia, New Zealand, finished with a ride from Anchorage, Alaska, back to Chicago on Wednesday. I can't believe she did all this. She
Very
did
cool.
have a lot of people though going along with her because she was posting on social media where they were going, and they joined in. So
Lisa Mateo with the news today. Thank you, Lisa Mateo. This is the Bloomberg Surveillance Podcast, bringing you the best in economics, finance, investment, and international relations. You can also watch the show live on YouTube. Visit the Bloomberg Podcast channel on YouTube to see the show weekday mornings from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern from our global headquarters in New York City. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen, and always on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Terminal, and the Bloomberg Business app.